Good morning and welcome back to this channel, the place where real science meets real life for seniors who refuse to simply accept aging without a fight. I want you to pause for a moment because what I'm about to walk you through could genuinely shape how you feel and how independent you remain for the next 20 years of your life. I'm Dr. Marie Huberman, board-certified endocrinologist, and for more than 2 decades I have sat across the desk from patients who walked in feeling completely fine. No symptoms, no warning signs they could feel. And by the time their blood work told the real story, the underlying damage had already been quietly accumulating for years. If you're over 60, or even approaching it, and a doctor has ever mentioned that your blood sugar is borderline or a little elevated, or if you simply never want to hear those words at all, this video is for you. Here's what most people don't realize. The real issue isn't just sugar on your plate. It isn't simply a matter of willpower or diet alone. It's something happening deep inside your cells, quietly, gradually, that almost nobody explains in plain language. And the tool I'm going to share with you today to address it isn't a medication, a supplement, or a complicated protocol. It's something you can start tomorrow morning, for free, regardless of your fitness level or mobility. But to understand why this works, you first need to understand what's actually changing inside your body after 60. Because once this clicks, you'll never think about your after-meal routine the same way again. Part 2. Why your blood sugar system changes after 60. When you were younger, your body managed blood sugar with remarkable efficiency. You'd eat, your blood sugar would rise slightly, your pancreas would release insulin, and that insulin would act like a key, unlocking your cells so glucose could enter and become usable energy. Fast, automatic, elegant. After 60, that system starts to change in 3 specific ways. First, insulin resistance. Your cells gradually become less responsive to insulin's signal. The locks on your cells get stiffer. Insulin is still being produced, but it struggles to open the door as efficiently. Your pancreas compensates by producing more insulin. Your blood sugar stays elevated longer after meals, and over time, this state insulin resistance can quietly progress toward more serious metabolic concerns. Second, declining muscle mass. Beginning in midlife, a natural process called sarcopenia causes a gradual loss of muscle tissue. This matters enormously for blood sugar because muscle is one of your body's primary storage sites for glucose. Less muscle mass means less capacity to clear sugar from your bloodstream after eating. Third, pancreatic fatigue. The beta cells responsible for producing insulin have been working continuously for decades. Like any system run hard for long enough, their output can begin to decline over time. Why does this matter so much? Because chronically elevated blood sugar doesn't just raise diabetes risk in isolation. It affects nearly every system in your body. It can damage the small blood vessels that supply your kidneys, eyes, and nerves. It contributes to low-grade inflammation that accelerates cellular aging. Researchers have increasingly explored the connection between insulin resistance in the brain and cognitive decline. Some have even informally referred to this relationship as a contributing factor in Alzheimer's disease risk, given how closely the two appear linked. It can affect immune resilience, sleep quality, energy levels, and that frustrating midsection weight gain so many people notice after 60 without understanding why. This is sobering information, but here's the important part. You are not without tools to influence this. And one of the most powerful tools available to you costs absolutely nothing and takes only minutes a day. Part 3. The habit. Why timing your movement matters more than you think. Over years of practice, I began noticing something striking among my patients over 60 who maintained excellent blood sugar control without medication. People who, frankly, looked and felt years younger than their chart age suggested. It wasn't extreme dieting. It wasn't marathon training. It was something far simpler, and almost all of them shared this one specific behavior. A short walk, just 10 to 15 minutes, taken shortly after their largest meal of the day. That's the entire habit. No special equipment, no gym membership, no drastic lifestyle overhaul. Here's why timing matters so much. After you eat, your blood sugar typically begins rising within the first 30 to 60 minutes. And how high that spike climbs is one of the most meaningful predictors of long-term metabolic health. Research has consistently shown that light walking shortly after eating measurably blunts that post-meal glucose spike compared with remaining seated. One systematic review and meta-analysis found that light-intensity walking after a meal led to significantly greater reductions in postprandial blood glucose compared with no activity. Here's the part that genuinely changes how people think about this. When your muscles contract, even gently, even during a slow, relaxed walk, they absorb glucose from your bloodstream through a pathway that does not require insulin at all. This matters enormously if your cells have become insulin resistant because it means your muscles can clear blood sugar through an entirely separate backup mechanism, one that completely bypasses the very problem insulin resistance creates. This pathway depends on a transporter protein in your muscle cells that activates specifically during muscle contraction, essentially turning your leg muscles, core, and arms into glucose-absorbing sponges during that post-meal window. You are, quite literally, giving your body a second system for clearing sugar from your blood, one that works even when insulin's usual signal is struggling to get through. And the benefits compound over time. Regular post-meal movement doesn't just manage the moment. Research suggests consistent activity can improve overall insulin sensitivity, meaning your cells gradually become more responsive to insulin throughout the entire day, not just during the walk itself. You're not only treating the symptom, you're nudging the underlying mechanism in a healthier direction. Part 4. What's actually happening inside your muscles? I want to go a layer deeper here, because understanding the biology is what makes this habit feel worth sticking to. Your muscles are not just mechanical tissue that moves your body around. They function, in a very real sense, as an endocrine organ, producing and releasing signaling molecules that communicate with the rest of your body. When your muscles contract during light activity, they release a molecule called interleukin-6 from muscle tissue. This might sound concerning if you've heard interleukin-6 described elsewhere as inflammatory. But in the specific context of muscle contraction during movement, it behaves very differently. Released this way, it appears to support anti-inflammatory signaling, helps the liver respond better to insulin, and plays a role in regulating hormones connected to appetite and metabolism. Over time, this muscle-driven signaling may help reduce the kind of chronic, low-grade inflammation closely tied to insulin resistance and broader metabolic concerns, the same inflammation we discussed earlier as a driver of accelerated cellular aging. In other words, your post-meal walk isn't simply burning a few calories, it's activating a genuine internal communication system between your muscles, your liver, and your metabolic hormones. One that works in your favor every time you use it. What about joint pain or limited mobility? This is one of the most common concerns I hear, and I want to address it directly. This habit does not require speed or intensity. A slow, comfortable stroll down a hallway, around your living room, or to your mailbox and back is sufficient to activate this glucose-clearing pathway. The research is consistent on this point. It's the movement itself, not the pace, that drives the benefit. If you use a cane or walker, that's completely fine. If the weather is poor, walk indoors. The window of opportunity is simply those 10 to 15 minutes after eating, however you're able to move through them. Part 5. Does this still matter if you're already on medication? I hear this question constantly from patients. Dr. Huberman, I already take medication for my blood sugar. Does this still matter for me? The answer is yes, and in some respects, it matters even more. Movement and medication work through different mechanisms, and they complement rather than compete with each other. Several of my patients who, under careful medical supervision, were eventually able to reduce their medication dosage over time had one consistent pattern in common. They had built post-meal movement into their daily routine months or years beforehand. I want to be completely clear about something important here. This is not a replacement for medication, and you should never adjust your dosage without your doctor's explicit guidance. What it can be is a meaningful complement, something that helps the tools you're already using work more effectively. There's also a way to amplify this further. Before a carbohydrate-heavy meal, spending just 2 to 3 minutes doing light resistance movement, a handful of chair squats, wall push-ups, or simply standing up and sitting back down 10 times, appears to prime your muscles to handle incoming glucose even more effectively once the meal arrives. Pair that brief pre-meal activation with your post-meal walk, and you've built a simple 2-step routine that addresses blood sugar from both directions, before the glucose arrives, and again once it's circulating. Part 6. Building the habit that actually sticks. Knowing this information is one thing. Actually building it into your life consistently is another. And that's where most well-intentioned health habits quietly fall apart. Here's how I recommend approaching it, based on what's worked most reliably for my patients over the years. Start with 1 meal, not 3. Don't try to overhaul your entire day immediately. Choose your largest meal. For most people, that's lunch or dinner, and commit to walking after that single meal first. Once it becomes automatic, which typically happens within 2 to 3 weeks, consider adding it after a second meal if you'd like to expand the benefit. Attach it to something you already do. Habit researchers consistently find that new behaviors stick best when they're linked to an existing routine. If you already clear the table after dinner, let that be your cue to put on your shoes and step outside immediately afterward. Make it socially easy, not socially awkward. If you live with a spouse, partner, or family member, invite them to join you. A shared post-meal walk tends to be far more sustainable than a solitary obligation, and it adds a layer of connection and accountability that pure willpower can't match. Track it loosely, not obsessively. A simple checkmark on a calendar is enough. You're not trying to optimize every variable. You're trying to build consistency over 4 weeks because that's the window where most people begin to notice genuine, measurable change. Expect some days to be imperfect. Rain, travel, a bad knee day, these will happen. A 5-minute walk down the hallway on a difficult day still activates the same glucose-clearing pathway as a full 15-minute walk outside. Something is always better than nothing here. Part 7. What to realistically expect over time. I always want to set honest, realistic expectations rather than promise dramatic overnight transformation, because that's not how this works, and you deserve the truth. In the first 1 to 2 weeks, most people notice subtle shifts, slightly less of that heavy, sluggish feeling after meals, perhaps marginally better energy in the afternoon. These early signals are easy to dismiss, but they're meaningful. By weeks 3 and 4, many people report more noticeable improvements, steadier energy throughout the day, improved sleep quality, and a general sense of more stable mood. For those tracking their blood sugar with a home monitor or continuous glucose tracking, post-meal readings often begin showing measurably smaller spikes during this window. Beyond the first month, the real value of this habit compounds. You're not just managing isolated post-meal spikes anymore. You're contributing consistently to your body's overall insulin sensitivity, your inflammatory baseline, and your long-term metabolic resilience. This is a foundation-building habit, not a quick fix, and its full value reveals itself over months and years of consistency, much like maintaining muscle strength or cardiovascular fitness. I want to be equally honest about something else. This single habit, as powerful as it is, works best as one piece of a broader approach to health after 60. Nutrition quality, sleep, stress management, strength training, and regular medical care all matter alongside it. Think of the post-meal walk as one exceptionally strong pillar in a structure that needs several pillars to stand reliably over time. Part 8. Your next step starts today. Here's what I want you to take away from everything we've covered today. After 60, your body's blood sugar management system naturally changes through insulin resistance, muscle loss, and gradual shifts in pancreatic output. Left unaddressed, the downstream effects reach far beyond blood sugar alone, touching your heart, brain, kidneys, immune system, and overall day-to-day vitality. But you are not without power in this story. A simple, freely available, scientifically grounded tool exists, and it's available to you starting with your very next meal, a 10 to 15-minute walk, taken shortly after eating, that activates a non-insulin dependent glucose clearing pathway in your muscles, helps blunt post-meal blood sugar spikes, supports long-term insulin sensitivity, and contributes to lowering the chronic inflammation associated with metabolic aging. It requires no equipment, no medication, and no drastic life changes. It accommodates joint pain, limited mobility, and busy schedules. It complements medication rather than competing with it, and the research behind it is consistent, replicated, and genuinely compelling. So here is your starting point. After your next substantial meal, whether that's today's lunch or tonight's dinner, put on a comfortable pair of shoes and move for 10 to 15 minutes, at whatever pace feels right for your body. Do it again tomorrow, and the day after that. Give yourself 4 consistent weeks before judging the results, because that's the window where the research shows the clearest, most reliable change beginning to take hold. Your metabolic health at 70, 80, and beyond is not fixed in stone. It is shaped meaningfully by choices available to you starting today, and this is one of the simplest, most accessible choices on the table. If this gave you something genuinely useful, take a moment to like this video and subscribe for more honest, research-grounded guidance designed to help you age with strength, clarity, and independence. This is Dr. Marie Huberman. I'll see you in the next video.